Hey YouTube, welcome back to the Road to Captain Khan, episode 2, and technically like 3, because there was a 0, but whatever, I'm marking this one as episode 2. So, January 10th happened, we got our patch notes slash updates, Grimkin got a little tickled, and I do collect and own Grimkin now, Orgoth definitely got touched, Dusk got a lot of buffs, artillery, like the star action skill, got kind of nerfed because I do own a lot of Talon Charter, and Dougal McNeil got like hit so hard by that, and it makes me sad. Pour one out for Dougal. But anyways, today we're gonna go over the changes to Orgoth, the new command cards that got added, which are pretty interesting, and the list that I have with the modifications to put them in line, and just some options because I'll rip that band-aid off right now. One of the things that I find highly interesting is the two new command cards. The first one being the one that gives soul tokens, not just great soul tokens, a ton of tokens, grave robbing. So it's a point cost 0, so you can slap it into anything. And a model that can have corpse rage or soul tokens just gets one. Just there you go. And this is actually pretty relevant because what it does is it takes something like your Siege Tarrasque, which I'm literally building a list around, or Malak, who is the character warjack for Orgoth, and it just primes them and gets them ready to go. And one of the main criticisms with Malak is if you're playing against certain armies, he's useless. And if your opponent plays properly around him, like it's very hard to get soul tokens on him, from what people say. I haven't had a chance to field him yet, so I don't know if that's true or not. But grave robbing does seem like a good way of priming both a Siege Tarrasque or a Malak. So Malak isn't in any of my lists, but he might end up in there now. The other one being High Alert. Now, High Alert is interesting because it gives something Shield Guard. One of the most common strategies people will use against you if you're using Siege Tarrasques is that they just don't shoot it. they just leave it alone. Um, and this makes it so that when you move up into a gun line or something like that, they have to, because if they shoot at anything within the shield guard range, within 3 inches of your siege Tarrasque, who now has shield guard, they're going to hit it, and that's going to prime it for reach tokens even more so. So these are both really good additions to the command card lineup. And I've been working on my own custom command cards that I'm looking at getting printed by a printing company. So I'm going to have to make 2 new ones for those, and I'm not upset at all. Like, I'm quite happy that that's the case, actually. New tools are always better than, less tools. But on that note, I'm going to switch us over to the new view, and we're going to go look at the changes to Orgoth before we move on to the lists. So this is the patch notes for January 10th. For Orgoth Sea Raiders. Although well balanced and possessing some real strength, the Sea Raiders were one of the first armies we playtested for Mark IV, and as a result lack some of the polish of later armies. Listening to the community, the dev team is now taking an opportunity to remedying some of these lingering concerns. Basically, it was the first and we broke it. The Jackal, which is a light jack, they're increasing the arc node to 2 points instead of 1. That's fair. It's like, hey, this was a mistake, and it brings it in line with everything else, which is totally fair. Anything else that has an arc node is usually 2. Kishtar got an interesting change. So their weapons are changed to ×2. They removed reload, so you don't need to spin focus to get your second shot. So you're technically getting, like 4 shots with a Death Whisper because of Ricochet. We'll look at her character card later. They added Pathfinder and Prowl to her, which is interesting, and her control was increased to 12 inches, which is even better. But her feet kind of got mangled, like in the worst way. It now adds 1 dice and drops the lowest, but also grants reposition 3 inch to the battle group. So herself and all the jacks and anything that's in her battle group gets repoed 3, which is nice, I guess, but adding 1 dice and drops the lows, and they don't say it here, but it's actually just to hit roll, not to hit and damage. And dropping the lowest makes it so that, because previously it was you choose which ones you dropped. So if you rolled a 6 4/4, you could drop the 6, and then you'd be at 8, and then you'd be in crit range. But now it's in that case you'd have to drop a 4. So you're actually nerfed in a sense of less stable crits, only on hit, not on damage. And the Repo 3 is nice, but it feels like, hey, we're just going to nerf this and pull it down. One of the Discords I'm in, one of the gentlemen there said that they had a feeling that Privateer Press looked at how people were playing Kishtar, and it's like, we didn't design her to be played like this. We wanted her to be played this other way, so we're going to change her feat in a way that kind of forces you to play her the air quotes correct way. And if that's the case, I'm not a big fan of that style of change to gameplay. But it is what it is. Um, I think she's going to be a little bit more consistent, at least on hitting. But I think her damage is going to go down a little bit in terms of what she can do. Her focus output's definitely going to be improved with the fact that you don't have to pay for the reload. But it's whatever. I mean, I'm just going to have to play her to find out if I like the changes or not. Next up, we got the skirmishers. They gain blessed and prowl. Nice. I mean, skirmishes were kind of bad. Gaining blessed means that they don't have to worry about, incorporeal and stuff like that, and actually gives them a legitimate use on the battlefield. The more that we see Dusk, the more that's going to be relevant, because the solo in Dusk is incorporeal, and the Wraiths coming out of the Wraith Engine are incorporeal, plus other armies that have incorporeal stuff. I mean, Crix is coming out later this year. Your damn Skippy, they're going to have Ghosts and incorporeal. So gaining blessed is never a bad thing. Sabby changes a model moving as a result of perdition now advanced. Oh yeah, they just nerfed perdition here and on. I think like trolls, but basically that whole spell just got kicked because it was a little too powerful. It was a full advance. Now I think it's just 5 inches. It's a good change. Community feedback indicates that perdition was too powerful in its previous incarnations, and the dev team had sought to dial it in. Exactly. My boy, the Siege Trask is next. They didn't change his point cost, even though the note says that he was underperforming for his points cost. Instead, they made him 1 inch faster, and they gave him +1 to his rat, which is huge. Previously, he was 5 and 5, speed 5, rat 5. So this change literally makes him so much better. And considering I'm literally building a list about running 2 of these, I am not mad at all. The Tyrant. Tyrant cut kind of beat with a bat, but it needed to be. So his point cost on the Hunter Head increased to 3. That needed to happen. The Hunter Head is way too powerful. 3 is very justifiable for that. The Harpoon melee went up to 14. Okay. I mean, if you're going to use it, cool. It's not a bad thing to use, but it's whatever. Reduce the power of the quad bolt thrower to 12. That's a big one. A lot of the community jokingly call it the fun gun. I'm going to spin up the fun gun because quad bolt thrower just is not fair sometimes. So putting it at 12, that makes it a little more fair. But they were like, he requires some fine tuning for the sake of balance. Its weapons options to keep them all viable. Fair. Like it's, I'm not mad at the changes. Everybody who played Tyrants with the fun gun setup with the Hunter Head and like the lobber and the quad bolter, they they know how strong that Jack chassis is, and it definitely needed a little bit of a nerf. And then finally, the other Aurochs, the redheaded stepchildren, the ones no one runs, they were slightly performing at their point cost, less so slightly, more like why? Because like when you have something as strong as a Tyrant as a range option with a quad bolt thrower, you don't need three shots, like 3 bodies with shots. Like you'd rather have a 5-man unit or Axers or rocks. Like there's just so many better things to take in this slot, considering you really don't need the range. Point cost 9, speed 6. So they made him faster, they made him cheaper. The thing is are they cheap enough to be something I want to take? Are they still like 9 is so close to 10? Are they really worth 1/10 of my lineup? More so if we're playing a 75-point game. And I just don't think they are. I don't think they're there. I think that they would need something else to push them over into a more consistent or a more appealing platform, because they're still really not there. We'll take a look at them when we go look at the the lists and everything. Speaking of, let's jump over to the list views. So these are the same lists, titles, and everything I had previously. I already went through and trimmed them. I haven't changed command cards or anything yet, even though I'm playing with them, because these lists might not be the final ones. So this is a Horusk of the Thousand Wraths. He's running 2 Jackals and a Tyrant. The first Jackal, I put the Bloodthirst head on him, which is the one that gives it whenever he charges something, he gets +2 to his movement. Considering I put the Mace and the Assault Shield on him, that's pretty standard. It's a melee build. Then we have our Archnode Jackal, Mace, Assault Shield, but he's just got a node in case I need to cast stuff through him. He does have the Thunderstrike, which is what the Archnode's really there for. It's not necessarily needed, but you never know when you want to arc something through a Jackal. And then we have the Fun Gun loadout. Hyper Aggressive, which is default. Hunter, ignores concealment and cover. Then he's got his Belcher, the Lubber, with the POW 14. That thing is disgusting. And then the Quad Bolt Thrower, rate of fire D3+1, which is dumb when volume fire. This is just such a good standard staple for Orgoth. We've got multiple commanders. And the reason why we have the multiple commanders is combat coordination is disgusting. So is Precision Strike. Combat coordination can be dropped on Siege Tarrasques. So the Siege Tarrasque, sorry, I bumped my mic there. The Siege Tarrasque can now just re-roll an attack or damage roll, just because. Why not? And Precision Strike is really good because you ignore other friendly models when determining line of sight. And other friendly models can move through your stuff. Overtake is okay. The Bolt Thrower that he has, or she, because these are technically, I think, female models, is really good. Rat 6 is a little below average, but whatever. Range 12, POW 12, pistol. And then the Infernus hand weapon is Weapon Master, critical fire, and it's got a battle shield. So, like, it's actually arm 17. Like, these things are not a joke. They can actually do some work on their own. But combat coordination, like, the whole linchpin of this army is just to buff Siege Tarrasques. Because I want to focus on big fuck off monsters. Like, they're the whole reason that I'm doing this list specifically. Not because I think they're broken or amazing. The buff that certainly helps. I just want to make them the best that I can do. Overtake. When it kills something, it can move, which means if it has an additional attack, it can keep going. So if you like punch a dude, you can move, and if you kill it, then punch another dude, and then move. If you kill it, and then blade tusks, and stuff like that. Like this thing can just mulch stuff. Especially with Rage Shield. Whenever he gets damaged, he gets a Rage token, or if you use that new command card on him, he'll gain a Rage token. He gains +1 to his melee attack and damage rolls for each token on him. And you can spend Rage tokens to do any of these. Brutality. I think he's just buying attacks, right? Yeah. Hyper Aggression, which is funny because he can have up to 3 whenever he suffers damage from an enemy attack. When the attack is resolved, he can spend a Rage token immediately. So the Rage token and Hyper Aggression can target at the same time. So if they shoot him, he can gain the Rage token, and then you can immediately spend that Rage token to Hyper Aggression and just move him, from what I understand. This is what somebody said you can do. I'm not 100% sure that works, because my card gamer mind says that the attack has to fully resolve before he generates the Rage token. So he can't use Hyper Aggression because the attack is resolved. But that's like TCG logic, so I'll need to get that verified. There's greater minds than I that I will pick and say, hey, is this how this works? Because if it does, that's disgusting. If your opponent's going to shoot him and then he just comes barreling towards you, especially now that he's speed 6, like that matters. And then Painmonger. So if your opponent is shooting with little 1 points of damage attacks, like if they shoot 3 of them on him, you can just be like, yo, Painmonger, D3+1, just heal off everything you did to me, and then proceed to wail on them. And then Rage Howler's pretty good. He can spend 1 Rage token to gain Mortal Fear. It only lasts a round. Everything enemies within 8 inches of him suffer -2 to damage rolls. And then his weapons are just decent. The Heavy Harpoon, Rat 6, range 12, 13. What's interesting about it
is it's equal or smaller bases. So the fact that this guy's on an 80 millimeter means he can basically grab everything because 120s, because of the rule of 120, literally can't be grabbed. So this thing can harpoon absolutely anything that's harpoonable. End of discussion. Like unless it has a rule that it can't be harpooned, he's gonna poon it, and it's gonna come, within range or hit something or do whatever, no matter what. The tusks, Mat 7, range 2, POW 16, and then 2 fists. Like, these pretty decent. It's a giant fuck off monster, so win win. Vanek. Vanek doesn't need to be here. Vanek is definitely not something that is 100% required. I just love the model, and I have the mini crate version. Um, so I just put Vanek in the list because I want to play with Vanek. Battle Wizard Hellmarked. Those are pretty normal. Grim Returns lets you return like an axe or something. Hex Blast is pretty interesting. It's a purge, so if there's like a buff to Hell Israfel, you can just be like, nope, by the power of Hex, be gone. And then Sigil of Power just gives anything magical. And then if it's within 10 inches of any War Witch units, they gain +1 to attack rolls. The weapon is POW 13 Mat 7 range 2 with Grievous, which is really good against like trolls. And even the shield has magical in its Mat 7 POW 12. So she's also armor 17. Like she's a really decent character. Just the ability to crap out magic is a lot more valuable than you think. Like you could either take a command card that you can only use once, or you could take a Vanek. So for 4 points, you have either a command card or a purge, an AOE purge at that. Um, well, only on the one that's directly hit. The thing that gets hit with splash doesn't get purged. So let me rectify that. And like Grim Returns, you'll probably never use, but it's still there in case you want to. The Forge Masters, I had two. I had to cut it down to one because of the points change. Um, these little guys are kind of nuts. They have fire and continuous fire on the torch, but the grappler is what's kind of dumb. They're a little staff which breaks so easy. I hate it with a passion. Armor piercing. Yeah, Mat 5, they're probably not going to hit, but when they do hit, they can wreck stuff. Because you look at like a Kador Jack, armor 22, so like dice off 4 with armor piercing. So that's kind of good for something like him to just walk up and dice off 4. And then if you really want, you can Reaver Commander him to give it combat coordination, and ta-da! Now he can reroll. Like you could do some pretty funny stuff with this loadout. Um, there is an argument that I might drop a commander to add in a Forge Master, and that would free up a command point, but I'm already using Sentry Duty in this list. So I'd have 2 points freed up, which I guess I could push into a third Forge Master. 2 Reaver Commanders, 3 Forge Masters actually is not a bad call. So, I mean, like I said, this list is still definitely in flux ever since the new stuff because I do need to free up rooms for those. Like Hit and Run might go, Breakthrough might go, Sentry Duty might go. All of these are possible of going poof. All right, so next is Harriers. Gang, amazing. Repo, amazing. Stinging Vulture, great. Um, Unstoppable, Stealth, Flight, like Cavalry, like what do these things not do? They are amazing. Critical Pitch is okay, Claws, but it's the fact that when these things charge, they get a bonus dice on the charge roll and a bonus dice on the damage roll because of Cav, and they don't care about obstacles, can't be shot at until they're ready to come for you. And then like Speed 8. What the hell? Like these are probably one of the best Cav units in the game. And they're giant angry, well, I don't want to. They're giant because they're 50 mils, but they're baby freaking pterodactyls. I love them so much. They're so fugly. That's literally this army, fugly.army. That and it's the 40 mil army. Like damn near everything except for witches is 40 mil or 50 mil. Harriers are 50, everything else, and these are 80, but everything else is 40 mil. All of their troops, 40 mil, 40 mil, 50 mil, 40 mil, 40 mil, 40 mil, 30 mil, 40, 40, 80, 40, 50, 40, 50, 40, 40, 40. It's 40 million army when I printed out all the things. I was like, oh damn. So Axers. Let's move on to them. Axers are dumb. Snacking, amazing. Unyielding, amazing. Once these things get into melee, you're just gonna have a bad time. Tough, so you can't even really deal with that. And then combo strike. Like if they need to take on big things, they just I'll forfeit one of my rolls and get +4 to my pal. They're just so good. It's such a simple looking stat field, but the fact that they clock in at 8 points and they just smack so hard. And that's the thing with the bringers, these a-holes. Like they're also a simple card, but they're a point more still than the Axers, and they just don't have the threat to me. Like yeah, range 12 with repo 3, move 6. So you're looking at 9 your first turn if you don't run or anything. I guess they have a really high threat range, but it's not worth it. I would like to see something on Bash, like maybe like a fire or something like that because the gun's hot, or something on the cannon to make it so that it's just a little bit better, or bump its stats up. 14, 10. I mean, the secondary being higher than 8 is faux pas, but they just arm 16, they just don't feel like they're still good enough to me. But that's just my personal opinion. But Axers are dumb. If you're running Orgoth, chances are you're running at least one unit of Axers, if not two. Like, there's no reason not to run both. And then we have our War Witch Covens. Um, I love these things. With this unit, 2 for 3 jacks is about right because they'll get 1 for power up, and then this will full power up them. Because this is your focus header. You can empower, which gets rid of disruption. They gain 1 focus. Flesh Eater's okay. You can heal Siege Trasks with this, which is really funny because technically Siege Trasks are warriors. And Dark Shroud is pretty good. So, it can be okay if they're like done in there. But beyond that, like they're not super amazing. If they're within Vanix, then they're mat 7 instead of mat 6 because I get the +1. But they're only PAL 10 with the Witchblade, and they don't really do much. Like if they had Battle Wizard, they'd be so much better because then they could empower, run in, kill some like Mook with the Witchblade, and then turn around and Battlecaster out and crap out of Flesh Eater and heal a Trask, which might be a little too pushed to be honest, but look, they're good for what they are. They're focus bots. Like, let's be real. Um, my command cards are very much up in the air right now. Breakthrough is breakthrough. It's unstoppable, so that you can throw that on something that your opponent tried to tar pit up to make it so that you can disengage and go fuck off and kick something else. Hit and run, repo 3. This is probably what I'm going to get rid of. Old Faithful, for healing jacks, taking a jack that's boxed in a weapon system you want, and unboxing them is always extremely powerful. Power Swell to gain 1 essence or focus for Fury Point or whatever. And then Sentry Duty is usually if I have an extra point and I just don't have anything I want to modify on the jacks, I'll just slap Sentry Duty on there. So that's the Horusculus. Command cards are definitely up for discussion. Playing around with the Reaver Commanders and adding another Forge Master or another War Witch Coven. It's probably going to be the Forge Master play. Maybe 3 Forge Masters. Because I kind of like that. But we'll see. Um, the other thing is I might try to fit in a Moloch in here somehow if possible, but I doubt it. I would like to just have a fluff list or a Moloch in the Siege Trask, but that might just be another list. So we'll pop over to Sabreth now. This is going to go a lot faster because I don't have to go through absolutely everything. So, Sabareth barely got touched, and a lot of things. Just Perdition got hit, which it needed to. Jackal 1, Node Head, Hunter Rifle, Quad Bolt Thrower. For this, we have Crippling Grasp and Hex Blast and Perdition that Sabby can throw through that Arc Node Head, which is super good. We have Jackal 2, which is the Bloodthirst, Mace, Assault, Shield combo. And then this one, because it's an arc node, I want to protect it a little bit more. So I'm going to keep this one at range with the Hunter Rifle and then its heavy bolt thrower version. That might be wrong. It's just what I instinctively want to do with this one. Then we've got our Tyrants, and all 3 of them are just Belcher Quad Bolts. Just fuck you, bomb from range. 2 Forge Masters, a Rock, 1 unit of Axers, 2 units of Witches. It was 3 units of Witches because the fact that we're rocking 5 jacks here is kind of rough. Like focus is going to be pseudo problem, and then the command cards again are just this was before the patch. Um, they might get some changes here. Like I actually might drop one of these tyrants and throw in Moloch, to be honest, just for a little bit of spice, because 1717 it wouldn't be a bad call. And then I can use some of the new command cards so he starts out with a soul token. But that's kind of where we're at right now. Hex Blast is on here, but these are if I remember the first three defaults. Yeah, I'll probably take Windstorm's really good, Redline's really good, and then just slap on something else. Hexbrat Bolt it actually isn't a bad call here to be able to Hex Blast, to be able to strip off buffs and stuff. So that's not a bad lineup, but we'll probably tweak it. Also, keep in mind your spell rack's not permanent. You can switch it between games. So there's that. None of the solos outside of your faction solos are really worth taking for the army. Magnus could be maybe. There's a Sabulus that I kind of want to mess with, where it's like 2 Sky Bombers, a Magnus, Sabreth, and a bunch of other just crazy, silly stuff. Yeah. So while we're here, we'll also talk about Kishtar real quick. Swift Hunters, like to me, it's like they want to make her a ranged gun platform, and they want to make hitting more consistent but not damaging. So it's like, yeah, here we go. Kishtar's control range gain an additional die on attack rolls, not attack and damage, and you discard the lowest of each roll. So they definitely nerfed this. It just feels, and this is why it means it hits forward, by the way, because it's Death Whisper times 2, so you get 2 shots. You don't have to pay for the reload, and you get ricochet. So it ain't bad. It's interesting. I'll put it like that. But I'll have to play with her to see if I like her. I might make a Kishtar list and just play it. But yeah, that's what we're looking at list wise. This is what our painting goals are. We're looking at least whatever change I made, I'll save it. We're looking at least, I think, 2 witches, 2 units of axers, 1 to 2 units of rocks. Yeah, two witch covens, 2 units of axers, 2 to 3 forge masters. Vanek's already done. Siege Trask's already done. Commander's already done. Forge masters are actually already done too. Like it's the next video is probably going to be next Wednesday, and it's going to be a painting update and show what I have painted and what I need to paint. And yeah, so next Wednesday painting update. Next Friday will probably be the convention loadout video. No idea what these are going to be. And this is going to be like a pre-final trip vlog where I like pre-pack and everything. Because Thursday night is when I'm leaving. And I'll probably be getting there around 1 a.m. on Friday. So I'm going to check into the hotel around 1:30, sleep for when I can because the tournament's literally this day, and then, get up and start playing for the next 3 days, and then come home Sunday night and be home for work on Monday. So that's the plan. Anyways, this video has been going on for quite some time. I think I'm going to end it there. I hope you have enjoyed the look at the different patch notes and what my lists are. If you want to drop suggestions down in the comments, that's up to you. I'm going to be honest, don't think I'm skilled enough to really play the way that other people are, so me just take them with a grain of salt and play the list the way that I'm envisioning them, because that's the thing. Whenever you're new, you want to get a battle plan, and then you want to focus on that battle plan. And sometimes with somebody else trying to say, hey, we'll do this, it's better, that could be true, but until I'm comfortable enough with the army to be able to rationalize and utilize that plan, I could be hurting myself. So it's better for me to take these in, get absolutely crap stomped, learn interactions the way that I need to learn them, and then later on improve and get better with like list suggestions and hey, try this and hey, try that, because that's to me the best way to learn. But all right, I'm out of here. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.